Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Train 102. Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning because we have another busy and exciting show in store for you. On the program this morning, we'll be talking with Matt Bozzetti. He's running for Chemung County Family Court Judge. That'll be in this hour, in the 6 o'clock hour. In the 7 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with Matt McCarthy. Judge McCarthy is running for Steuben County Court Judge and Steuben County Family Court Judge. So we'll be talking with him in the 7 o'clock hour, and that's on top of all of the issues of the day. Yes, there's still conversation about Joe Biden's calling Trump supporters garbage, and now the White House, I guess you would say, cover-up. We also have a Harris surrogate saying that Trump does not surround himself with strong, intelligent women. Well, there happen to be some strong, intelligent women that had something to say about that. We'll be talking about that as well. First, though, a little off the election year topic, but something that I think's not only worth noting, but it's also kind of an update from stories that we've been bringing you for quite some time on this program. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is being labeled a traitor following these damning claims that came out that he instructed administrators at Columbia University to dismiss any criticism of the school's handling of blatantly violent and anti-Semitic protests on campus in the wake of the October 7th Hamas terrorist attack. The GOP-led House Education and Workforce Committee, in a 325-page report, contended, I've got a frog in my throat, pardon me, that the New York Democrat advised then University President Shafiq, you remember her, that the school would be spared any scrutiny by Democrats, explaining the elite university's, quote, political problems are really only among Republicans. Yes, the only problem you're going to have with anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic violence, protests, hate, the only problem you're going to have is with Republicans. Think of that. I mean, that says a lot about Republicans, if you ask me. His staff then encouraged Columbia University administrators that the, quote, best strategy is to keep your heads down. Now, remember, as Brooklyn State Assemblyman Dov Hinkins said, quote, the self-proclaimed protector of the Jewish people, Chucky Schumer, is nothing but a traitor. He should be ashamed of himself. Yeah, just keep your heads down. If there's anti-Semitism on your campus, whether it's violent, whether it's a protest, whether it's intimidating Jewish students, it's okay with Democrats, according to Chuck Schumer. You have to worry about Republicans going after you, but you're not going to have any political pressure from the Democrats. I mean, this speaks, I think, very much to what Van Jones was saying, the anti-Semitism that is marbling the Democrat Party. Quote, he is a traitor to America. He is a traitor to the Jewish people. Shame on him. This is what the Democrat Party has become. Now, the report came after the committee's months-long investigation into the handling of anti-Israel protests earlier this year on 11 college campuses, including Columbia, Harvard University, Yale University, and Northwestern University. Private emails and text messages of university leaders, including Shafiq, who resigned in August, were among the documents reviewed by the committee. A spokesman for Schumer insisted the report was, quote, flat out false. And Chuck Schumer knows that he'll get a pass on this, unfortunately. But, quote, Senator Schumer regularly and forcefully condemned anti-Semitic acts at Columbia and elsewhere, saying, quote, when protests shift to anti-Semitism, verbal abuse, intimidation, or glorification of October 7th violence against Jewish people, that crosses the line, end quote. He conveyed this point publicly and to administrators privately, just not in those texts. It's worthy to note here that the Republicans are citing words from someone who is not Chuck Schumer. That is called hearsay. So I guess in this theory, that your staff, who you hired to speak for you, tell administrators, hey, just keep your head down. You'll get through this. You're not going to get any political pressure from Democrats. You may have to worry about Republicans. That does not speak for Chuck Schumer. And maybe it then speaks for who he decides to hire. According to the report, Columbia trustees ridiculed the committee for reviewing their oversight of the violence and prejudice on campus and texted about how they hoped Democrats would take control of Congress after Shafiq's discussion with Schumer. In text with Board of Trustees co-chair David Greenwald and Claire Shipman in January, Shafiq described Schumer as very positive and supportive and quite the storyteller. University leadership then felt emboldened to avoid any kind of meeting with Republicans after Schumer and his staff indicated that was a political party that could essentially go after them. Greenwald then echoed Schumer's advice, writing, quote, "If we are keeping our heads down, maybe we shouldn't meet with Republicans." Well, there you are. Just an update. Keep that in mind. And I mean, it does have this year's election ramifications as well. Chuck Schumer will most likely get away with this kind of attitude. Yes, Republicans will call him out on it, but Chuck Schumer, in the media anyway, seems untouchable. They're calling it, and who is this? The exact quote, here we are. Shabos Kenstenbaum, a graduate student at Harvard who ended up speaking at the Republican National Convention, said that he called it the, quote, the greatest cover-up of anti-Semitism in American history. Just as an update on what was happening on college campuses, Chuck Schumer advising the board, because remember, the only reason Shafiq really got in trouble wasn't because she allowed these anti-Semitic protests to run amok and to turn violent and destructive. She only got in trouble because she called in the police. Because remember, these protests were also anti-police. So that's when faculty and students turned on her, and seeing the writing on the wall, she resigned, weirdly enough, right before school started, to make it maybe even more difficult for the transition. But there you go. Chuck Schumer telling the board at Columbia what they need to know to just get through it, so they'll get no pushback on the anti-Semitic protest. Something to keep in mind when again, as that one assembly person said, he considers himself the self-proclaimed protectors of the Jewish people. Keep that in mind. Just a quick update to start off the program, but obviously we've got a lot to talk about as we near Election Day. Hey, by the way, let me see here. I did a little early voting yesterday. Have you been out voting? I hope just once. Did you go early vote, or are you waiting till Election Day? There is no wrong answer as long as you vote. I just decided to give the process a go because we've been talking about it on the program so often, and I do like the process. Now, everybody told me, it took me like 2 minutes. I picked the exact worst time. I mean, it was no longer than actual Election Day, but I was not expecting the turnout that was there, and it was quite a turnout. Which is exciting. I talked, of course, to the poll workers, and they said it had been busy pretty frequently all day, and since it started on Saturday. So, yeah, it was an interesting experience, and I liked that the stickers say, I voted early. So if you've been through that process, now I went over to the library here in Corning. They've got a really nice setup there. Talking to some of the people that work at the library, saying it has been frequently busy. But I guess it just depends on the luck of the draw when you go. But everything went smooth. They print out your ballot. And some people asked me about this because, in the past you go to your specific location and your ballot says wherever town you're in that, there's this person up and this person's running. In this scenario, it actually prints out your ballot. The computer can tell you, obviously, can tell which ward you're in, let's say if you're in Corning, or which county you're in. So mine printed out, and it was pretty standard. We had nothing locally running, but I had all the ballot. The Prop 1 on the back. They had that, and I'm glad that the workers said, don't forget, there's a proposition on the back. But that's what Prop 1 we talked about for quite a lengthy period yesterday with former Congressman Joe Semplinsky about Proposition 1. Just don't forget that when you go in and you fill out your ballot, flip it around, and there is Proposition 1. And I know in Corning, now I'm not a resident of Corning, but in Corning they are voting on whether to make the mayor's term, keep it at 2 years, which it is currently, or to make it 4 years. That is a proposition that Corning City specifically has. And I'm not sure, reading the tea leaves as you were, I have not heard really where the tide is going in that direction. If you are a Corning City resident, I'd love to hear your take on that. But it is an interesting time in politics at the national level when you have half of the country called garbage by the President of the United States, and then you have the surrogate of the nominee for President of the United States on the Democratic ticket, Kamala Harris, saying that Trump does not surround himself with strong, intelligent women. So I guess this whole idea of unity and this whole idea of coming together after the election, thrown out the window? Can we say that? It's interesting that they continue to label Trump as the one that says nasty things and hateful things, and yet how often do they have to take what he said out of context or word what he said to make it sound worse? Kamala Harris did that at a rally yesterday, numerous times, but specifically on that comment that he made, he's going to keep women safe whether they like it or not. And he was talking about immigration and public safety issues, and she twisted it into abortion, which is not what he said. So again, I posed a question. I've asked this before on the program. If Trump is so bad in what he says, why do they have to take things out of context and make things up? Or as was mentioned on the show yesterday, have, to use this term that we already used today, hearsay. Why do they have to say, well, I heard someone say that they heard him say? Why is it that when we see the President of the United States of America call half of Americans garbage, Trump supporters garbage, and Mark Cuban saying these things about women? And again, we have the video on that, the video evidence, the video proof. And yet, again, the media trying to downplay it. But it is getting a little bit, and I'm surprised, to be honest, it's been in the news cycle as long as it has, the garbage comment, because you know that the media has wanted to get it out of there as quickly as possible and to cover it up. But they've made it worse with the White House edit. We're going to talk about that when we come back. See some comments coming in. Thanks for joining us. We're only a few days left till Election Day. It's going to be exciting. Well, Monday we have Bobby Ann Cox on the program. She's going to talk about Proposition 1 for those of you that haven't already voted. It's one last pitch for what Proposition 1 is. And then on Tuesday, it's just going to be you and I. We're going to have a great time sitting back, relaxing, and talking about Election Day. And what we expect. And then Wednesday, who knows? Who knows what we'll be talking about? That's the fun of it all. It's hard to believe how fast and how quickly it is going. But speaking of quickly, the show's going quickly already. So let's take our first break. You're watching, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel feel better. My back feels better. It makes me feel stronger, too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor for 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. As you should have saw that view yesterday during the trick-or-treat hours of 4 to 6 on Market Street. Looked like Woodstock, for heaven's sakes. It was pretty amazing. All right, a couple of comments from viewers. Why do they use the word hate a lot? Great question. They must think it's effective. Doesn't seem like a way to prove that you're unifying ticket. That's a question I can't answer. You'll have to ask their experts behind the scenes. Next up, a different comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, hey, good morning. My wife and I voted early for the first time. Congratulations. The poll workers at the Corning Library were very friendly and efficient. They sure were. I enjoyed talking with each of them. There was even free parking for voters, which is great. This made me laugh, I got to say. It's a very inside Corning baseball thing, but I totally agree. There was even free parking for voters, which is great because the poll workers actually ask less questions than those newer parking kiosks do. It seems like it takes 15 minutes. You're already run out of time on your ticket by the time you figure out the kiosk. So I totally agree with that. And it was nice. The people, and I've got to give credit to the city of Corning because they listened to the people. There was a lot of complaints early on, the first, probably Monday, because Saturday and Sunday there's free parking. But on Monday, I heard from people saying, well, it's unfortunate that you have to pay. And they listened to the people and they said, no, free parking because people are coming in and out. Don't make them spend 20 minutes. Because I think this viewer is very accurate. You could get in and vote by the time you actually figure out how to use that kiosk and pay. So I agree with you on that. So thank you and congratulations on early voting. It was a fun, exciting experience. It felt different, but not necessarily in a bad way. It was just, you think of election day and kind of the excitement when you wake up and all that. Then I was just, randomly in the afternoon in the library voting, but still felt good doing our patriotic duty, didn't it? All right. Thank you for the comment, too, by the way. So the White House did edit Biden's, quote, garbage remark about Trump supporters, which, according to protocol, it breached protocol, is what the stenographers are saying. The White House press office engaged in a, quote, breach of protocol when it altered the transcript of President Biden's garbage remark about Donald Trump's supporters over the objection of the administrator's stenographer's office, according to an internal email. Stenographers heard the 81-year-old president tell a Latino group in response to a comedian's comments about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage during Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden Sunday that, quote, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. The White House press office, however, added an apostrophe to supporters, suggesting that Biden was only attacking the comedian. And I don't want to get into who said it yesterday, whether it was a stutter or an apostrophe. My goodness. The conversation around this. Listen, go back to what CNN's Caitlin Collins, who is by no means a Trump supporter, go back to what she said. It's hard to spin it when we have the video evidence. Watch the video yourself. According to the supervisor of the White House stenographers, in an email, quote, if there's a difference in interpretation, the press office may choose to withhold the transcript, but cannot edit it independently. So they went, that's how far they went into if you want to call it a cover-up, I mean, that's a pretty strong term, but they went as far as to break protocol and change that transcript, which, as the official stenographer said, you can not release it, but you're not to alter it. Our stenography office transcript, released to our distro, which includes the National Archives, is now different than the version edited and released to the public by press office staff. The supervisor further declared that the way the situation was handled amounted to a breach of protocol and spoliation of transcript integrity between the stenographer and the press offices. White House stenographers are widely considered by reporters who cover the executive branch to be very professional and accurate with their transcriptions. It is highly unusual for the press office to dispute what the stenographer heard. The AP reports that the press office demanded a quick transcript from the two-person stenography team covering Biden Tuesday night after his remarks set off a firestorm of controversy. The press office, quote, conferred with the president after the campaign call, according to the email, and wanted to add the apostrophe to the transcript, an alteration that usually requires the approval of the stenography supervisor. When the higher-up was not immediately available to review the proposed change, Biden's press team forged ahead, widely releasing the improperly altered transcript on social media and the White House website. This just created another day's news cycle on this from the mainstream media that wants this to be out of the viewing public. It wants this to be gone and buried. Quote, regardless of urgency, it is essential to our transcript's authenticity and legitimacy that we adhere to consistent protocol for requesting edits, approval, and release, the supervisor said, now a career White House employee. The president confirmed in his tweet on Tuesday that he was addressing the hateful rhetoric from the comedian at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. That was reflected in the transcript, is what the White House spokesman Andrew Bates told the New York Post. House Republicans are considering launching an investigation into the false transcript released by the White House. The Trump campaign seized on this. No, I mean, it is worth mentioning. Elise Stefanik said that this cover-up is illegal. She posted on X, quote, by the way, Elise Stefanik has been on fire. She's got a op-ed that I hope we have the opportunity to get to. What is it, 6:20? We do have two guests this morning, but I hope that we can get to talking and refuting what Mark Cuban had to say about strong, intelligent women around Trump. Because obviously Elise Stefanik is a very strong and intelligent woman. But this is what she had to say about Biden's garbage smear cover-up. The American people deserve to know that Joe Biden and the Democrats are so desperate after his disgraceful comments calling 250 million Trump-supporting Americans garbage that the Biden White House illegally edited the transcript, violating the Presidential Records Act. The most important question, did Kamala Harris and her campaign request this illegal edit? I think that's a fair question. It is a cover-up. It may not be the biggest cover-up in presidential history, but it goes to show you how they realized, as we talked about, again, with Joe Zemplinsky yesterday, they realized how damaging this is to the Harris campaign. It's why you have those in the media like Norah O'Donnell, who we mentioned on the program yesterday extensively, saying that they give no grace to Biden. The Trump campaign giving no grace to Biden in his gaffe. And basically using every term, I should have saved it because I know I'll be quoting it in the future, using every term that she could to make it sound like it was just a mistake. Oh, there's old Uncle Joe. Just a gaffe like he's had in his whole career. Nothing new to see here, when it's much more than that. I mean, it's never good, if you're new to politics, to insult the voter. That may be Politics 101. Now, I had a piece this morning that said Politics 101 may be you don't invite an insult comic to a political rally. That could be. But I would disagree. Ronald Reagan invited, and this wasn't a political rally, it was actually to his second inauguration, invited Don Rickles. Imagine that in today's culture, how that would go. And it goes exactly how you imagine. If you watch it, if you go to YouTube and watch the old clips, and I don't think it's fair to call Don Rickles necessarily just an insult comic. But anyway, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. But we are going to talk about because the media still wants to focus on the Madison Square Garden rally. But I think it's very hard to do so when it wasn't Trump. They said it was just an opener to a 6-hour rally. An opener to a 6-hour rally. Trump probably wasn't even in the building yet. To focus on what he said and play that video clip over and over again, but to ignore what the President of the United States had to say. So there you are. All right. We have to take another short break. We are going to run late this morning. Keep that in mind because we still have to talk about Mark Cuban. We also want to talk about how the Trump campaign is going. Yes, J.D. Vance. Have you watched J.D. Vance on Joe Rogan? He did, I think it was over a 3-hour sit down. I know the media is trying to kind of cherry pick some things that they don't like. I haven't seen anything. In full disclosure, I didn't have time yesterday to watch the full 3 hours. I watched maybe 15, 20 minutes of the opening. So I can't weigh in on everything that he said. But I know that the media is right now dissecting it with a fine-tooth comb. trying to find things that they can use, to kind of downplay the garbage comment by Joe Biden. But if you watch it, I would love to hear your opinion. Because I noticed J.D. Vance, especially in settings like that, very comfortable in his own skin, does a very good job of really breaching topics that you would say normally aren't breached in the political sense. Because Joe Rogan is not a typical interviewer, so bringing up not the normal, what would you do for the economy? What would you do? Going out there to some far out there topics. And J.D. Vance, to his credit, is able to handle that situation in all the interviews like that I've seen in the past, and even more formal, like at the at the rally that I went to when I was in the press corps. He was taking questions ranging from, January 6th to local issues in Williamsport and the farming community. It's very impressive. So if you saw that, I'd love to hear what you have to say. But right now, we have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Your Social Security disability claim has been denied, and you don't understand why. Your physical or emotional problems make it impossible for you to work. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Don't give up. Together, we'll file your appeal to give you the best chance to win the benefits you deserve.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton, toll free 1-800-698-0567.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Thank you for joining us this morning as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio here on Historic Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. Sounds like the Democrats are getting desperate. Well, to that viewer's point, Democrats admit that Biden's garbage smear has kind of smothered and overshadowed, let's use that word, overshadowed Harris's closing pivot, that last final message to voters. Biden kind of interferes with that, and meaning this Democrat operative, meaning that is the newly devised campaign rhetoric of vowing to be a president for all Americans. So think about that. She gives the speech at the Ellipse where her whole message is about unifying, and moments before, her boss, the president of the United States, called Trump supporters garbage. So it overshadowed her rally. It definitely did. Chris Cillizza, formerly of CNN, saying at the time this got way more attention took the steam right out of Kamala's message. And clearly, it should. So this is hurting that pivot that she's trying to make, that she's going to be the president for all Americans. Biden kind of interferes with that, and that's the problem. Democrat strategist Hank Scheinkopf told The Hill, "It's hard to imagine that Biden had any desire to injure Kamala Harris. Quite the contrary. But by showing up, he's changed the discussion on the campaign in the last few days." Well, get that final say in. That was supposed to be his reelection campaign. So he gets that final word in and becomes clearly part of the news cycle. Democrat strategist Fred Hicks suggested Biden's timing was unfortunate because Harris's pivot was riding a wave. Quote, "It was definitely unfortunate that the president made the statement because the Harris campaign has really been riding a wave of breaking support since the Madison Square Garden rally." And there he said it. And what we've been saying on the program. They wanted to make Madison Square Garden the focus for the last week. Not what Trump said, but what some opener to the opener, the first person in the 6-hour rally, what he said. So they thought they had their quote-unquote October surprise, which I know is highly overused. They wanted that to be the surprise. Instead, that was quickly cut off at the knees by Biden's comments. Because Biden, number one, being the president of the United States, himself says that Trump supporters are garbage. Now, whether or not she had that wave of breaking support, I don't know. But that's according to, again, Fred Hicks, the Democrat strategist. Quote, "You wanted a new page," said Chuck Rocha, a Democrat strategist, acknowledging to the New York Times. "Harris respects Biden, but you got to make your own way without the shadow of him. There's one thing her and Donald Trump have to do, which is to be the change agent. And you can't be the change agent if he's there." Reporters immediately asked Harris on Wednesday about Biden's remarks. Harris claimed Biden clarified his statement and was forced to disagree with demonizing, quote, "people based on who they vote for." Carol Levitt, Trump's campaign national spokesperson, said earlier in the week, "There's no way to spin it. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris don't just hate President Trump. They despise the tens of millions of Americans who support him. Kamala does not deserve 4 more years." Okay. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, who, boy, they've been trying to attack him like mad, haven't they? Pretty remarkable. He said over on X, he said they won't apologize because they actually believe that, meaning that Trump supporters are garbage. And changing the official transcript won't erase the truth. The message was delivered loud and clear. There we go. Our guest is in the studio, so let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Your Social Security disability claim has been denied, and you don't understand why. Your physical or emotional problems make it impossible for you to work. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Don't give up. Together, we'll file your appeal to give you the best chance to win the benefits you deserve.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton, toll free 1-800-698-0567.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
How many times you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-2344. That's 1-800-980-2344, or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-2344 now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, returning Matthew Bizzetti. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thanks for having me again.
It's so bright in here, and I apologize because you got the darkness and the brightness. We can't figure out the light, so hold on. A little unprofessional there. Much better. Much better.
Comfortable either way.
No, well, you look great. It's just me. It's me being technical. So here it is. Can you believe it? How's the campaign going?
It's coming to an end,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a surreal...
Bittersweet?
Yeah, my kids are like, what are we going to do on the weekends now, Dad? I'm like, hang out at home?
Yeah, watch TV for a minute? Not just have another chicken barbecue dinner?
Yeah.
So it's going pretty good? You feel
Yeah.
Good. We recently mentioned this on the program. How did the candidates forum go?
Good turnout. We had about 50 people from the public,
wow.
so 2 of the 3 candidates were there, and we kind of just got to sit down and talk. It was nice. A lot of good questions, some just general public questions,
Sure.
and then some questions that we had kind of all agreed to ask everybody.
General questions.
Yeah.
So that's 50 people. That's pretty impressive, because I've been talking to a lot of people, and let's face it, we know what the big topic is when it comes to elections. It's the national ticket. Have you found it to be a struggle to get the word out?
It has been.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to cover the local judicial race or the local town hall board race.
Yeah, it's true.
But having 50 people assembled in a high school cafeteria on very short notice, I think I was really proud of what I was able to put together and pull together at the last minute.
I wonder why. You remember in the old days there was all these forums throughout the whole campaign season, and that just seems to have gone by the wayside.
I remember when Judge Rich ran the first time, 12 years, but very long time ago. They did a like the League of Women's Voters did a candidate forum with everybody, and it was like something like that every week. And then in this race, you can't even get the local news outlets to other
cover
than this one to come to anything.
Well, let's face it, it is all about that national ticket. But people, I just feel bad, and this is why we made it a goal on the program. I feel bad when people go into the voting booth, early voting or on November 5th, and they're just guessing on names. They're taking a stab, or they're looking at political party, and that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And especially when we talk political party with judicial races, because it's so odd to me, and I know we talked about this last time, but that there are even political parties in this, because you have to, if you win the next 10 years, you have to stay politically silent.
Can't do anything.
Yeah.
Unless it's in your window period.
Yeah, it's so odd. Okay, so anyway, let's start from the beginning, because you were on a while ago. Just to kind of recap, tell us about your background.
So I'm a local attorney, born and raised in Elmira, New York. I went to law school in Jacksonville, Florida, moved right back. I've worked in family court ever since. So I had a practice order for a while. So before I was fully licensed, I could practice law under the supervision of another attorney. And I did that all through law school. So when I graduated, I actually had family court trial experience, jury trial experience. And then since then, I've just hit the ground running in private sector work lately in the past 10 years. And then before that, all public sector at the assigned counsel offices.
What was it originally that led you to family court?
I grew up in it.
Okay.
So not in it technically,
right.
But I grew up in a broken home. My parents divorced when I was 4. Sure. Like most kids got into some trouble when I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
And then coming back to the area, it was a way where I could give back and I could actually help people and get the most out of it.
Yeah. You talk about your life experience, but also your professional experience. What makes you believe that you are the best person for this job if people are going out to vote on November 5th?
I'm there every day. Mm-hmm. I'm in a family court courtroom literally every day. In this past month alone, so it's November 1st, right?
Yeah.
In October alone, I had 12 family court trials, which is a lot even for me. Now, I'm used to it, but a lot of other attorneys, they don't have that workload. Yeah. And that's a mix between, assigned counsel work, because in Chemung County, we're really, really struggling on attorneys. I know there's been some references to, the public defender and public advocate's office being almost fully staffed. That's just not accurate. The public defender has a budget for, I think, 17 to 18 full-time attorneys. Okay. They have 9.
Wow.
The public advocate has a budget, I think, for 10 or 12. I'm not sure the exact number. And they have 7. All that work has to go somewhere.
It has to be done.
It has to be done, and the people need it. So that work goes to what's called the 18B panel, or the assigned counsel panel. I'm literally one of the only attorneys on the assigned counsel panel in Chemung County.
Oh, interesting. And you mentioned, so you had 12 family court cases in the month of October.
12 trials.
Trials, excuse
probably
me.
30 cases.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you have all that, and I know we talked last time, you have kids. Why did you decide to take on this responsibility and campaign and run for this? When did you have the time, actually? No.
The time, I always make time, and I tell that to all my clients, whether it's at night, on the weekends. Almost every single client of mine has my personal cell phone number. Actually, when it was ringing the last time I was here, it was actually a family court client.
Did that happen? That's funny.
It was on my watch. Okay. Why did I decide to run? Because I owe it to the community. I owe it to everybody. I think I have reached a point in my career where I can do more and do better things from a different vantage point, which would be from behind the bench. I'm in that court every day. I know the court officers. I know the judges. I know the court clerks. I know all the people in that court. I know how long it takes. I know how pushing things through isn't the right example. I know that we don't have any services in our area. So if somebody's like, oh, we just need to get them in a service and get this case going and get the kids back, we don't have any.
Oh, interesting.
Mental health wait list in Chemung County, 16 months.
Wow. For mental health.
Imagine having your kids removed.
That's horrible.
And then one of the things to get them back is you've got to go to mental health. And then the mental health program says, we can't get you in for 16 months.
Wow. What's the answer? How do you correct that? How do you change that?
We need more services. Getting more services is complicated. I think it all goes back to, unfortunately, money, right?
Yeah, of course, it always does.
But we need to be a little bit more aggressive and unique in some of our community-based decision-making to get services to the people that truly need them.
And also, I would also ask the question, because you mentioned the deficit of lawyers, and how do we overcome that, too?
Again, it goes to money.
Yeah.
So this is actually very, very weird, and not a lot of people understand this. Attorneys at like the public defender or public advocate's office in Chemung County, they don't make a lot of money. Now, that's normal. It's public service work. You have loan forgiveness.
Yeah.
But you can it's around 60 to 70 to maybe 80, depending on experience. Full-time, benefits, good jobs.
Yeah.
Well, then you can come up here to Steuben County or go to Schuyler County and get that same job part-time. Same salary. Most of the time the salary is higher with benefits.
Oh, wow.
So we have to, as a county, we have to be more aggressive in trying to use what we have to get what we need, and it's just not being done.
We got to have the discussion at the very least, right? It's got to be addressed. So we were talking about the campaign. Now, has there been anything that surprised you, things you've learned during the campaign?
Just a lot of people are like, well, I'm never going to go to family court. I'm not getting divorced. I'm never going to. And I'm like, well, never say never, because it can happen to everybody.
Right.
But just the understanding of how it affects everybody, even if you're never there, right? When we're talking about community safety, homelessness, mental health, drug addiction, that's family court. And it starts there because that's, if you're a child, right, before you get in adult trouble, you get in juvenile trouble. That's where you go.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about, I've represented, me at 38 years old, I've represented generations, 3 to 4 generations of people and families, all with the same problems. So if you talk about getting the help to the people right then and there, the minute they need it, that starts in family court.
Wow. What are voters saying to you specifically, those that are watching the race and know the importance of family court? What are they saying to you?
That there's some discrepancies or misinformation out there about experience and who's done what and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
There's a little bit of that. And then the other big thing is, how can they help? Which has been a huge blessing.
Sure.
Because getting the word out there about, even the mental health thing I brought up.
Yeah.
People are like shocked to hear that. And it's like, what can I do? I'm like, you need to call the county executive. You need to call Tom O'Mara. We need to start calling the lawmakers to start a push to get access to funds and state grants.
What will be the biggest issue if you become judge on November 5th, well, when you get sworn in? What would be the biggest factor that you'll be facing? Biggest issue?
Attorneys.
Yeah, that is
the whole system.
I'll boast that in that. Yeah.
And they're such an integral and vital, important part. And there's a lot of attorneys that I've met throughout the state who don't practice here. And I've talked to them when I was considering running, and I'm like, look, if this happens, and I'm blessed with the job and people select me, can I count on you guys to come down here and help? So bringing in out-of-town attorneys that have said, look, we would come down and practice in front of you. Excuse me.
It's that time of year. I've been doing the same thing. Trust me.
Well, broken ribs don't help too.
Oh, no, geez.
So
we'll get to that question next, apparently.
Bringing more help here.
Yeah.
I think is the biggest, most pressing issue.
So is it almost to the level of a crisis? Would you say it's that bad?
Oh, it's past a crisis.
Oh, it's past a crisis.
So last year, our district judge, so for the head judge for the 6th Judicial District, said Chemung County Public Advocate and Public Defender, they can't take any more cases. Wow. Here's why that's important. Public Advocate's Office, when you go to family court, they're the first assigned attorney. So if they can't take any more cases, anybody who goes to family court, it's going to the 18B panel, which I said has literally, I think at last check, there's 3 attorneys.
Wow, that's like you said, that's shocking to hear. I do want to do a little bit before we go towards the end, talk about explaining the race and like that. But something I try to ask candidates, because I know it's something that the term they always use is humbling. But endorsements, you've received a lot of endorsements. I think it's worth mentioning.
The endorsements have been great.
Yeah.
So the Elmira Teachers Union, the Elmira Teachers Association.
Sure.
I am, in my race specifically, I'm the only candidate with a law enforcement endorsement, the Chemung County Correctional Officers Association.
Okay.
And then last week, I was teary-eyed and humbled when I received a letter from 20, and at this point, there's going to be an update, and it's over 20 at this point, but local family court attorneys.
Oh, wow.
They're all attorneys that practice primarily in family court, and they're attorneys that I'm against.
Right, sure.
Sometimes, we're not all of the old adage, all the attorneys are friends. Well, for the most part, that's true, but there are some that aren't. And even there, so having the support of the people who are in the court, the people who know this is the guy for the job, is something that I relish and do not take lightly.
Sure. Now, could you explain the race itself to us? Because again, unfortunately, not a lot of people follow the judicial race. I don't think I'm telling you anything. I hope that wasn't insulting.
Oh my God, Frank, what are you talking about?
Since when? Could you explain the race and maybe tell people who can vote for you and those type of like who, what, when, where, and why?
Okay, so the race is in Chemung County. It is for Chemung County Family Court Judge. Okay. And on the ballot, it's going to say pick 2. That's because last year we were given from the governor a new judgeship. Okay. So you're actually electing 2 judges. Okay. So there's 3 candidates, and polling or early voting started. It runs until I think Saturday or Sunday.
I think it's Sunday. And then it closes down. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. Don't wait then.
And then, don't wait
today. Do it today.
And then we have 2 early voting places in Chemung County. So the Board of Elections on Main Street, and then the 4-H the 4-H campgrounds at the fairgrounds. Okay. And then everybody needs to vote.
Yeah. And you can go, and you can. We always talk about early voting now. That's the new topic. But you can go on November 5th. You know, everybody. I'm not picking on you. I'm saying everybody.
I'm debating on what I want to do.
Oh, you haven't done it yet?
I haven't gone to early voting yet.
But they even give you the sticker.
I know, and that one's so much cooler than the regular one that just says I voted.
I know. I can't wait to put it on my Instagram. So, and the other thing I think it's worth noting, your political affiliation. What are your thoughts? And I've been asking this. This is kind of a new question I've been asking. Do you think there are ever a chance where it won't be a Republican Democrat type thing for a judicial race?
If I have anything to say about it,
yeah,
I think it puts the candidate in such a bad position when engaging with anybody.
Sure.
Because I get a lot of questions about, what's your stance on gun rights? What's your stance on this large topic? And I'm like, I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
So and then, you look at it, and when you're looking at a judicial race, it's not about, are you a Democrat, are you a Republican, are you working families, conservative, independent, a blank. It's not about that. It's about, are you in that court? Do you have that experience? And are you the right person for the job? And political party and political affiliation shouldn't matter in judicial races.
Not at all. So before we go, where can people find out more about your campaign?
Website, BazzettiForJudge.com. Facebook, Committee to Elect Matthew J. Bazzetti. Or you can stop by my office or call me, or when you see me running between courts at a courthouse, wave me down, and I talk all day long, every day. So it's something I love to do.
All right, here we go. In closing, what do you say to voters before they either early vote or head to the polls on November 5th?
Really look at, when you're choosing who to vote for, look at the reasons why you're choosing for that person. Look at the endorsements and where they come from. Are they people who are in particular to the race? Are they in the courts practicing, or are they just people with name recognition? Look at what the real experience is. Do your research. Go to nycourts.gov. Type everybody's name in. Figure out who is where and who is not.
Well, Matthew, thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck on Tuesday.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Let me turn that up. The Boss Security Roof Cam. Visit them today for all your home and business security needs. We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you again to Matthew Bazzetti for being on the program. Today's the day of judge candidates, I should say, on the program. But that makes it official. We have spoken to each of the candidates in Chemung County Family Court twice. So if you've missed any of those interviews or you want to be up to date on the interviews, you can go to our YouTube page, and Mr. Bazzetti's will be up a little bit later on this afternoon when it downloads. But we also have Brian Maggs and Mary Tarantelli. That is the ticket. And I want you to be the most prepared. That's been the goal on this program, so you know who you are voting for. So we thank you for tuning in to learn about the judicial candidates. I know it's a heavy judicial year. Coming up next, we're going to, in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with Matt McCarthy. He's running for Steuben County Court Judge and Steuben County Family Court Judge. So that'll be in the 7 o'clock hour. All right, let's get back to, we have just a little bit to get back to some of the topics of the day. We were talking about the garbage comment. And the reason it's still in the news cycle, in my opinion, is because the White House, against stenographers' wishes, edited, the press office edited the transcript to make it look like he was talking specifically about that comedian and not about Trump supporters. But that is breaking protocol, and it's not what, again, go back to the video, it's not what he says in the video. So now it has led to Harris really distancing herself from the president. President Biden returns to the campaign trail this weekend with stops in the biggest of battleground states, his native Pennsylvania. The White House confirmed the president will campaign on behalf of Harris and down-ballot Democrats when he makes stops Friday in Philadelphia and Saturday in Scranton. But Harris, who with 4 days until Election Day remains locked in a tight showdown with former President Trump in the race to succeed Biden, won't be joining her boss on the campaign trail. Now, you've got to assume anyway, you'd love to be a fly on the wall, that the Biden campaign was not, the Harris campaign was not particularly thrilled with Biden's comment because it outshined her moment at the Ellipse in Washington. It became the focus, begrudgingly, of the media. So, and the term momentum is overused in the media, but if she had momentum, that stopped it. That kind of took the wind out of her sails, right? So the Harris campaign, who's already struggled to get their message out, to have kind of a policy position or numerous policy positions, so has struggled. I'm not saying this, the mainstream media and Harris supporters are saying this, and specifically undecided voters are saying this. So to kind of pivot her message, which was going to be a unifying candidate for all Americans, and to have Biden take that away from her, there's probably a little bit of hard feelings there, but she will not be joining her boss on the campaign trail. The vice president has kept her distance from Biden, who, according to polls, remains deeply unpopular with Americans, and her campaign quietly views him as a liability. So Biden unpopular, she doesn't want to hitch her wagon, even though, let's face it, 3.5 years, 4 years ago, she hitched her wagon to him, but now trying to distance herself. And even all that was before the president made that comment about garbage. Well, Harris has noted the policy success of the Biden-Harris administration the past 4 years. While campaigning, she's emphasized that she'll be an agent of change in the White House, which is, I think, an odd campaign message, if I'm being honest. I just think it's a tough sell, that when they keep saying things like turn the page and a new day in America. Well, she's been in the White House for 4 years now, nearly 4 years. So anyway, your thoughts on the garbage issue. We're also going to talk about what Mark Cuban had to say, that there's not strong, intelligent Republican women around Trump, or strong, intelligent women around Trump. We'll talk about that when we come back. And a little bit later on, Matt McCarthy. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, hour number 2 on the way.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more.
Call now, 844-617-0440.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking on this Friday morning edition. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, talking about the presidential race. Coming up in a little bit, we'll be talking with Judge Matt McCarthy, who is running for Steuben County Family Court and Steuben County Court Judge. He's acting in those positions as we speak, but is also running for that. We also, we got some comments coming in. Okay, we've been talking about, obviously, the national ticket. It's interesting that Biden is, I don't know what they think about Biden campaigning for Harris this weekend, but did you realize, as I was talking about this story at the end of the last hour, it has been nearly 2 months since the one-time running mates teamed up on the campaign trail. And really, she's only been, running for maybe a little over 90 days? You have to go back to Labor Day when they joined forces at a union event in Pittsburgh. The 81-year-old Biden was replaced by Harris atop the Democrats' 2024 ticket in July. There you go. After ending his own bid amid a rising chorus of calls. Well, you know about that. At that time, he said he would, for the next 2 months, he would be, quote, on the road from there on campaigning on behalf of the vice president. That did not happen. And while former Democrat Presidents Obama and Clinton have crisscrossed the campaign trail in recent weeks on behalf of Harris, Biden's efforts have been more limited and less publicized. I would also say Bill Clinton may not have been the best choice. Put aside the fact that for at least at one time with the Me Too movement, he was kind of a political pariah for a while. And that changed, I guess, overnight. Even Gillibrand, you got to remember Gillibrand turned her back on him, saying basically she didn't want the Clintons, Bill Clinton's support, because that was at the height of the Me Too movement, and we know about his background. That's all changed. But put that aside. When he's been on the campaign trail, he said things like there should have been vetting of immigrants, really taking a direct, not inadvertently, but taking a direct dig at Harris's policies. What did he say yesterday? He had another, he's basically saying, I think it was in Georgia, the economy was better under Trump, but, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was very similar to that. Really gaffe after gaffe, almost looking as if he's supporting Trump. It's very odd. So I would say some of the people that she has speaking for her, not the best, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Bill Clinton, or in this case, Mark Cuban. As the New York Post says, quote, hell hath no fury like a strong, intelligent Republican woman scorned. It's a lesson that Mark Cuban learned the hard way when he empathetically stated, on The View of all places, that former President Donald Trump is, quote, never around any, quote, strong and intelligent women. Whew. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them. Nikki Haley will call him on his nonsense with reproductive rights, and now he sees and how he sees and treats and talks about women. I mean, he just can't have her around. It wouldn't work. His bumbling remarks come one day after Biden wrote off half the American population, specifically Trump supporters, by calling them garbage. So these are the people speaking for Harris. And listen, it just shows their thoughts on this. I mean, it's pretty crystal clear. Now, soon after Cuban put his foot in his mouth, Elise Stefanik wrote an op-ed. I'm going to tell you about that in just a moment. We're going to skip ahead and mention Kelly McEnany, the former White House press secretary and co-host of Outnumbered. She said, "This is so profoundly offensive. I work for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rowlands, Ivanka Trump, Hope Hicks, Sarah Sanders. That's before we get to the women Donald Trump elevated to very high levels, like Nikki Haley, who still supports him, like Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the Supreme Court. What about the women who vote for Donald Trump? Are they weak? Are they dumb? Did Mark Cuban just insult any woman who supports Donald Trump? Yeah, I mean, why not, right? Biden considers them garbage. Why not any Trump voter? So why not heed Cuban's words that there's no strong, intelligent women around Trump? Is that what he's insinuating? That you're not strong or intelligent if you are voting for Donald Trump? I mean that's the question. Tommy Lauren, the Fox News commentator, said the left hates women. Maybe that's why they want men in our sports and our bathrooms. Riley Gaines, champion swimmer turned author and women's sports advocate, said, "Hey, Mark Cuban, if you never see Trump around strong, intelligent women, then explain this," with a photo of herself and Trump together. We could go on and on. Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, said, "Mark Cuban just said he's never seen President Donald Trump around strong and intelligent women." Well, game on, buddy. I'll take you on any day in a debate or maybe even arm wrestling, and had a photo of them together as well. The list goes on and on. But I thought Elise Stefanik, who was on the short list for VP, did an op-ed for the New York Post. She represents the 21st Congressional District, by the way. She said, just 2 days after Joe Biden smeared 250 million Americans as garbage, Kamala Harris's top ally, Mark Cuban, said no strong, intelligent women support Trump, smearing tens of millions of women across America. And as usual, Harris stays disgracefully silent and refuses to condemn this sexist smear. The left has an uncanny habit of saying what they really think and showing disdain for fellow Americans. And she's exactly right. And this goes back to, they'll take something that Donald Trump said and misquote it, turn it around, take it out of context, and say, see how bad he is? So they have to lie about what he's saying. But when you have the video and you have the proof of what the Democrats are saying, we're supposed to ignore it or put an apostrophe here, or it's infuriating. It shows the double standard. But trust me, the media wants this out of the news cycle. They want the garbage statement out of the news cycle. But continuing with what Elise Stefanik had to say. At the time of my first election, I was the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. Today, I'm proud to be the youngest woman in top congressional leadership of either party, the highest-ranking woman in Congress, and the first member of Congress who endorsed President Trump. I joined tens of millions of strong, intelligent women across the country, proudly supporting and voting for President Donald J. Trump because of his record delivering historic opportunities for women in America. I can unequivocally say that my friend, President Donald J. Trump, has delivered historic professional and economic opportunities for women in America more than any other modern-day president. As the American people have grown accustomed to, the lapdog mainstream media has failed again and again to give President Trump credit for so many of his historic achievements in his first term. Chief among them, what he has accomplished for women. During his first term, President Trump surrounded himself with strong female leaders while enacting historic pro-women policies, including a booming economy, safer communities, and stronger pro-family policies. He empowered strong, intelligent women leaders in his campaigns and administration. In 2016, Trump's campaign was led by Kellyanne Conway, and the historic 2024 campaign is managed by Susie Wiles, two strong, hardworking women who will deliver hard-fought, historic campaign wins for the American people. Trump consistently appointed strong, intelligent women in his cabinet and in senior positions in the White House and his administration. He empowers strong women and respects the mothers, grandmothers, sisters, and daughters in America. Trump delivered the strongest economy for American women in my lifetime, while Harris and Biden failed Democrat policies, destroyed opportunities for women in America. Under Trump, American women reached historic heights in the economy. The median income for American women increased to the highest on record. Trump delivered the largest wage and salary growth for working women on record. Trump's economy, more women were part of the workforce than ever before. Trump lifted 3.9 million women out of poverty. Meanwhile, under 4 years of Kamala Harris and her failed economic agenda, inflation soared by more than 20%, with women bearing the brunt of increased prices of groceries, utilities, childcare, and more. And I can continue to go on. She talks about the tragic consequences, like with Lincoln Riley and others, when it comes to the border and immigration. But unlike Kamala Harris, she wraps up, this is Elise Stefanik if you're just joining us, President Trump's policies are pro-women and pro-family. Not only will he bring back his record-setting economic agenda and secure our border, but President Trump will also ensure that far-left Democrat radicals can no longer hijack women's spaces by keeping biological males out of girls' locker rooms and protecting women's sports. Harris and Democrats have attempted to erase women's opportunities in sports by trying to replace them with mediocre biological men. President Trump is the pro-family president who will provide unprecedented support for American women fighting to have a family through his groundbreaking support of IVF and a critical tax credit to support the important work of family caregivers who are often women. When President Trump was in the White House, American women could have it all: success in the workforce with safe, secure, and growing families. As American women head to the ballot box, we must defeat the Trump derangement syndrome hysteria promoted by Kamala Harris' sexist top ally, Mark Cuban, and the mainstream media, and vote Trump to ensure that women can reach the historic heights of our American dream. We are not garbage. We are not dumb and weak. Women who support President Trump are strong, intelligent patriots who will flood the polls to save America for all Americans, but especially the hardworking women in our country. So that, and we're going to tell you what Mark Cuban had to say in just a moment in response, not to Elise Stefanik, but after he, really, how else would you put it, insulted Trump supporting women. Also, just on that last note, this was brought to my attention that the organizers of a Trump train is coming to our area. You know that they had one in Steuben County. There is one in Chemung County. It will begin on Sagetown Road and Route 328. It's on November the 3rd at 11 a.m. and that's the beginning, and then it'll start rolling at 12. I wanted to mention that again on the program. Okay. What's your thoughts on early voting? Did you go? I mentioned I went yesterday. It was fun. It was a fun experience. Felt like election day, really. What were your thoughts? Are you going to wait till the 5th? What are your thoughts about Mark Cuban's comments? Piggybacking though off of that garbage comment by Biden, it's not a good look for a candidate in Harris that is trying to say that she's a candidate for all Americans, because you have Biden saying Trump supporters are garbage, and you've got Mark Cuban who thinks isn't this interesting about this comment? Because Mark Cuban thinks he's very, very savvy, very, very smart, very, very political. So for him to make such a boneheaded comment it's kind of his comeuppance, I guess, right? He can talk about Trump, and Trump's insulting. What did he just do? He insulted women who support Trump. So you've got Trump supporters are garbage. Women who support Trump are not strong or intelligent. That's coming from the candidate who is promoting a message of being a president for all Americans. Interesting. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Now there's a product that sears food, stirs it, even shreds it for you. Introducing the PowerXL StirMax Multi-Cooker with a built-in auto stirrer that gives you the freedom of adding your ingredients and walking away and coming back to meals that cook up to 60% faster. No more stirring food. StirMax technology automatically rotates the paddle clockwise, then counterclockwise, so it stirs it for you. Powerful enough to even shred food. Then the 7.5 quart pot goes right to the table to serve. With a premium ceramic coating, nothing sticks. And it's dishwasher safe. Now you can try the PowerXL StirMax Multi-Cooker with lid and recipe guide in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. You also get the steamer and rice basket for healthy meals, StirMax serving spoon that snaps in place for easy serving, and $100 in free grocery coupons. We'll even ship your order all absolutely free. This is an exclusive TV-only offer, so order now.
And we are back. Thank you again to Boss Security in Horseheads for bringing us the roof cam. I see a lot of comments coming in as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, by the way. I did not have a chance because I ran up to get a fresh tea, so I did not get a chance to put them all together and read them on the air yet. We will after we talk with Judge Matt McCarthy, who will be our guest in the next segment. But I want to hear your take. Oh, thank you for the waves too, by the way. I do want to hear your thoughts on Mark Cuban. Now, he has tried to apologize, if you will, saying when I said this during the interview, I didn't get it out exactly the way I thought I did. So I apologize to anyone who felt slighted or upset by my response. As I said, it wasn't about Trump voters, supporters, or employees, current or former. So who was it about if you say that strong, intelligent women, Trump can't have strong, intelligent women around? I'm confused. He said he set himself up for the 6-second soundbite and offered no excuses and said his skin is thick enough. This is what I said during a conversation about why Nikki Haley was not active in his campaign. I know many strong, intelligent women voting for Trump, including in my extended family. I'm certainly not saying female voters are not smart, strong, and intelligent. I know he has worked with strong, intelligent women like Elaine Chao, Kellyanne, Ivanka, and many others. I stand by my opinion that he does not like being challenged publicly. That was what you were trying to say there? Okay. But he's the one that knows he's more brilliant than Trump. Interesting. Trying to clarify that comment. Your thoughts on that? This coming off the back of the garbage comment. Now, we're going to move away from those topics because coming up in a little bit, we are going to talk with Matt McCarthy. But feel free to weigh in on it, how that makes you feel, especially if you are a woman who is voting for Donald Trump. What do you think about Mark Cuban's comment? If you are a voter for Trump or non-voter for Trump, what do you think about the implications of Biden's comment calling Trump supporters garbage? How much longer will it stay in the media cycle? Probably not much longer. It'll come up a little bit saying, did that garbage comment have any impact, or didn't seem to have the impact we thought because the momentum, they're going to start pushing that momentum. And also, I keep asking the question, if you early voted, what were your experiences? Now, Kamala Harris she's had protesters at her rallies quite frequently. I mean, that's not uncommon. That's no critique on Harris because we've seen it with Trump numerous times. But it throws her off her game because probably, someone who relies heavily on the teleprompter. I'm not saying anything out of school. She has a very scripted speech. She said, let me say something about this amid the disruption at the Reno, Nevada rally. We are here because we are fighting for a democracy. Fighting for a democracy. And understand a difference here. Understand the difference here. Moving forward, understand the difference here. What we are looking at is a difference in this election. Let's move forward and see where we are, because on this issue, for example, freedom of choice, and this is when the heckling intensified, saying that's okay, that's all right, that's okay. Hey guys, you know what? Here's the thing. Let's talk for a moment about Gaza. We all want this war to end. This is another word salad. So we have another example of word salad, and just because I think sometimes I do a disservice just saying it once. She said, you know what? Let me say something about this. We are here because we are fighting for a democracy. Fighting for a democracy. And understand the difference here. Understand the difference here. Moving forward, understand the difference here. What we're looking at is a difference in the election. Let's move forward and see where we are, because on the issue, for example, freedom of choice, and that's when it got cut off. So in radio, it was a term called a crutch word, something you depend on, and you don't even sometimes realize you're saying it, where, maybe there's some phrase or some word that you use too frequently, and that's why you watch your air checks, and this is TV as well, but watch your air checks or listen to your air checks, as it should it say, or watch them on TV, and you try to catch those little ticks, if you will. In this case, Kamala has, the full circle. The word salad is used so often, but that full circle of using the same words and kind of jumbling them all together. So flustered as protesters interrupted yet again. She was also mocked over a gaffe she made in Arizona. In Arizona, she said, quote, "I have fought for many who have harmed other human beings." Now, you normally don't want to fight for the people that are harming human beings, as a rule. But, mistake. I have fought for myself, or I have fought for many who have harmed other human beings. While the Trump campaign quickly jumping on that clip saying, wow, is she finally admitting that she did indeed fight to bail murderers and rapists out of jail? She cannot even read right, even from the teleprompter. She has no awareness of what she says. It keeps making one Trump ad after, she keeps making one Trump ad after another. All right, comments coming in, but when we come back, we're going to talk to Judge Matt McCarthy. He's running for Steuben County Family Court Judge and Steuben County Court Judge. He will be joining us next. Don't forget, on Monday, Bobby Ann Cox will be our guest. If you haven't voted and you want to know more about Prop 1, that's the person to talk to. Bobby Ann Cox will be joining us on Monday. She was on the program probably I don't know if it was a month ago now, but with Senator George Burrell. So, yeah, it's going to be a good interview. And spread the word, because Proposition 1 is on the back of your ballot. If you are going to early vote, do not forget that. They reminded me, and I appreciated it, but they remind you, hey, there's something on the back of the ballot too. Pay attention to that. But don't forget. And also, just out of curiosity, if we have Corning City residents, because I don't have a dog in this fight, number one, and number two, I have not really heard too many strong statements made about the vote on the back of the ballot as well, of making the mayor's term 4 limits, or keeping it 4 years, or keeping it the current 2 years. So the term limit, moving it to 4 years. Why do I say term limit? The time serving 4 years or 2 years. So their term would be 4 years instead of the current 2. I know I worded that strange. I did a word salad. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you have a strong opinion? But right now we have to take a break. Matt McCarthy coming up next, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
How many times you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-980-2344. That's 1-800-980-2344, or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-980-2344 now.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and joining me in that studio this morning, Judge Matt McCarthy. Thanks so much for being back on the show. I almost said for the first time.
Thank you for having me back, Frank.
Yeah, we've got a lot to catch up on, but first, how's the campaign going?
It's going fantastic.
Yeah.
Just a very positive response from all over Steuben County. I'm getting positive feedback. People are excited to go out and vote. Obviously, that's the one thing that I'm here to do is encourage everybody to get out and vote on November 5th. We're celebrating Veterans Day the next week, and Veterans Day, our election next Tuesday is only because of Veterans Day.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to get out and exercise that right.
They should almost put it on the same day.
That'd be nice. Yes, that'd be more than appropriate.
Yeah, and I know early voting in Steuben has been very busy, is what I understand the numbers.
Massive turnout.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought I'd see the day that we'd be talking about early voting, and I myself would go early voting.
I did too yesterday. Yesterday I voted.
Good for you. So we'll get away from the campaign, though. I will talk about what people are asking you and things like that in a little bit. But let's start with the easy question, but that's so important. Tell us a little bit about your background and experience.
Well, I'm born and raised in Steuben County. Both my wife and I were born and raised here. She comes from Howard, a large farming family. Both her mother and father grew up here. My father was from Elmira, son of a prison guard and World War II veteran. My grandmother on my father's side was a school teacher, so very humble beginnings. And my father went to law school after serving during Vietnam. He was drafted after serving and becoming a sergeant in the Army and serving 13 months overseas. He came back here, finished his law school, and joined a practice in Bath with Hank Scudder, eventually Justice Scudder. And when I graduated from law school, I graduated from Avoca, went to St. Bonaventure, Albany Law School. When I graduated from Albany Law School, I came back to join his practice. So that's just brief background, and I really wanted to come back and practice here locally because of the influence of Justice Scudder, my father, and all the attorneys that I grew up watching spending time at my father's law office.
Right. And there's something about getting back to the community that you were born and raised in, right? And being a part of it. We've talked about this with numerous candidates. It's a special feeling when you talk to people when you're getting petitions signed or you're campaigning, knowing that this is your community that you're talking to.
Yes, I mean, the community values in Steuben County are what raised me and what frames my opinion on the legal stuff. When you're practicing and you're a judge, you take the facts of the case that come before you, apply the law, but you can't help being influenced by the community that you were raised in.
Of course.
And so that's crucial. And I feel very fortunate that I've been able to give back to that community over the last 20 years.
Now, I know you are the acting Steuben County and Family Court judge. Why did you decide to run for the 10-year term?
Well, it's just more about the focus on the more serious cases. When I'm Corning City Court judge, I handle low-level misdemeanors and things of that nature. I do 3 days of family court a week, and that won't be changing. That part of the job will remain the same. But I'll be handling more felonies and more serious criminal court matters, and that's really the only change that will take place. But I really want that challenge. I've handled a couple of those over the last 10 years. I conducted a felony jury trial. I handled county drug court for several years. And so I'm looking forward to getting back up to Bath and handling the more serious cases.
Is it going to be tough to leave courting?
It's going to be very tough.
Yeah.
I mean, this was such a blessing to be serving as the Corning City Court judge for the last 10 years. It really changed my life 10 years ago when I won that election and was very fortunate to do that. And just serving this community, it's a great place to live. I don't regret ever coming back here to be with my family and my father, my mother, my brother and sister, my wife, and we just enjoy every day. Every time I pull off the highway and you're pulling into Corning and seeing, the lights light up from Corning Incorporated. It's just such a great view,
really
and just the hills and surrounding area and the Finger Lakes region overall.
It is hard to believe it's been 10 years, isn't it?
It's. Time goes by so quickly, especially the older you get. It seems like just yesterday I was knocking on everybody's door here in the summertime asking for their support to run for Corning City Court judge.
I will say, as a radio host at the time, that was a blast for me. It probably wasn't for you, but I was talking to you guys more than I was talking to my own family.
Yes, that was a very interesting race. There was a Democratic candidate, there was a third-party candidate, and then I had the Republican line. So it was really just a push to the very end.
And you were all hardworking. It wasn't like anybody phoning it in. My goodness.
Massive amounts of work put in by all the candidates. And all the candidates in that race were very qualified for the position. So it was just important for me to get out and communicate directly with the voters in Corning. And I think that's really what put me over at the end.
And is it more difficult running at a county level than it is in the city? Because on the city, you were great at it, knocking on doors and talking with everybody. Steuben County is a big county.
It is. It's different.
Yeah.
In Steuben County, when you're running a countywide campaign, you still have to do that door knocking and asking for people's votes, but it's more about attending events. Sure. And what I've really realized running this time, there's a lot of beautiful areas in Steuben County, whether it be Jasper, Woodhull, Addison, Tuscarora, Canisteo, and really over in Hornell, there's a lot of fantastic events that take place over there, as well as in Corning. I always thought that it was more just, I was always Corning centric, I would say. Just because I was raised in Avoca, but it was always you came to Corning for something to do.
Right.
And really what I've realized during this race is, there's fun things to do in Cohocton, there's fun things to do in Wayland. It's just a very large county, but community is overall, the sense of community, while different in each location, is still the overwhelming sense that you look out for your neighbors and you appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, Hornell does have a Christmas celebration too. It's not just sparkle and Corning,
yes,
right?
Yes. Well, and Cohocton has the Fall Foliage Festival. Hornell has a fall festival. There's a lot of those things that take place, and I didn't realize how many until I went around to a lot of them in the last couple of weeks. So.
I'm sure. Now, because you've been acting Steuben County and Family Court judge, which we joked last time came as kind of a surprise to you when you won for a Corning City Court. Were there any surprises when you took over that maybe you weren't expecting in that role?
Well, the in-court stuff is what I expected, because I had been a part-time ADA, assistant district attorney, working in that office for over 9 years, and had been in family court every day. What I didn't realize was how much work goes into preparing that calendar and doing the back office stuff. I have a very, very good staff down here in Corning, and the family court clerk's office up in Bath is excellent. And a judge is only as good as their support staff in preparing those files and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So that was the one thing that did surprise me, is just how much work goes into it. Just getting ready for that 2 hour, it's kind of like a music concert. You spend an entire week prepping for that 2 hour show. And so to make sure it goes off without a hitch, it's a lot of work that goes into it. So that was a surprise.
Yeah. And we've talked with a lot of judicial candidates on this program a lot. That's probably the most competitive races, as a matter of fact, in our area. A lot of really Chemung and Steuben and New York State Supreme Court. And one of the things that keeps coming up is kind of workload based on maybe COVID or based on just, unfortunately, more need in our community for workload. Have you found the workload difficult?
It's been consistent over the 10 years. Obviously, in 2020, there was a dip because the courts weren't in operation and people weren't able to file petitions. But really, it's been consistent, especially criminal court-wise. If you look at the numbers for Corning City Court, for instance, it's varied maybe 100 cases a year. But when you're talking about, 500, 600, 700, 800 cases, that's not a lot, depending on the nature of those cases. When dealing with family court, you're talking about thousands of filings every year, whether it be under family offense petitions. But those have pretty much remained consistent, other than the anomaly of the 2020 year when the courts were shut down for a period of time. But even during that court shutdown, I was holding court. I went to the courthouse and got the New York State flag, the American flag, and the state of New York flag. I put them in a room behind me, painted the wall white, sat at a table and did everything virtually. And so we were able to do that and continue serving the people of Steuben County and providing them justice and an opportunity to be heard, even during COVID when the world shut down.
And the work had to be done, right?
It had to be done. I mean, these family court cases and criminal court cases, you want to provide the participants their answer fairly and efficiently, but criminal court-wise, defendants are entitled to their rights, but you want to respect the victims in those cases as well and provide them justice.
Yeah, there is a time frame that needs to be upheld, right?
Absolutely.
Just as a side note, because we've talked in Chemung County, there's quite a few family court, all family court race. Is family court difficult because there is such a direct impact that you can see?
Well, it's difficult because you're dealing with something that's, when you're in criminal court, you're dealing with people's freedoms and you have victims. Equal to that, when you're dealing in family court, you're dealing with the other thing that people hold very dearly, which is their children.
Right.
And so you have to appreciate that and respect that. Whenever you're looking to change custody or placement or remove a child from their parent, that is the most serious decision that a judge can make. And when people have that happen to them because of drug addiction or mental health issues, it can't be held against them. If they go and get help, you need to make sure that they're aware that that's what you're encouraging them, so they can be there for their children in the future. And that it's not the end of the world if they get their children temporarily removed from them. They just need to handle the issues that are causing them problems at that time. And you need to make sure that they understand that when they're before you, that you emphasize, you have empathy for them, and that you're looking to return that child to them. And the Department of Social Services does a very good job in Steuben County, even upon those very difficult cases of abuse and neglect. The goal is always return to parent to start off with, and only if the parent doesn't do what they're asked to do does that change to either adoption or alternative placement.
We're talking about the race for Steuben County and Family Court Judge. You were talking about campaigning and going to the various festivals, knocking on doors. What are some of the things that you've learned talking to the residents of Steuben County, maybe things that surprised you, or what are they saying in general?
Well, on the criminal side, and honestly it impacts the family court side, is obviously the concern over the opiate epidemic and fentanyl. Obviously that's
issue number one.
That's issue number one. The crime rate, bail reform is obviously another issue that they're wanting to discuss on the criminal side. On the family court side, it's mostly just about being able to be heard in family court and the speed at which those things occur. And I really focus on that as a judge. I move these cases along. They put in place something several years ago called Standards and Goals, which actually kept track of judges. And you have to report any case that's over misdemeanor over 90 days, felonies over 6 months, and family court cases over 6 months. You have to report those to Rochester.
Oh, wow.
And they send out a report, kind of a shame report to the judges asking for an explanation if you have so many cases over standards and goals. They're asking why you haven't been able to resolve those. And I'm very proud of my record with respect to that. I've never had to answer anybody in Rochester with respect to why these cases are over standards and goals.
Wow.
So I'm very proud of that fact.
And you should be. That sounds like an interesting. It actually does sound like that could be effective.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
You sometimes wonder when things are enacted.
Well, and sometimes in that situation, you have to, there's a valid reason that they might be going on a long time. It's a very complicated case.
Yeah, of course.
A murder case obviously takes longer than a petty larceny to resolve.
Right.
And so you just, contact the Rochester and say, look, this has been pending for 3 years because it's a very complicated murder case.
Right.
And that's an excuse, and they accept those.
Yeah.
I mean, when there's a valid explanation,
they don't want you to rush it just for a report.
Getting it right is the most important.
Exactly. At the end of the day. Now you mentioned the drug epidemic and the mental health issues. Is that, I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but what are the biggest issues you'll face as Steuben County Family Court Judge?
Those issues, and then addressing those issues. So a lack of resources. We make do with what we have.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the number is, but I heard it's just a ridiculous number of open positions at Steuben County Mental Health. I don't want to misquote it. I have a figure in my head. But there are so many open positions at Steuben County Mental Health that they're just overburdening the people that are there. So we need to figure out a way to draw more talent into the local area to address that issue. Drug and alcohol, we have the VA, which is a very good resource for our veterans, but Steuben County Drug and Alcohol, they need more assistance as well. And we're attempting to do that through our drug court in the legal system, and the DA's office is very open to that. The public defender's office is very involved in that. And so that's the way you address those issues, but we can always use more resources. We're never going to turn down money.
Right, yeah. But it is so necessary, and at any level, the courts, the police department, sheriff's office, there's just such a lack, or there's too many job openings, and not enough of people applying. And in that case, it's life and death.
It is. I mean, and that's really what I want people to understand about the role of a judge in this system. Obviously, you need to have good police officers, you need to have good prosecutors, you need to have good defense, and you need to have a good judge. A breakdown at any one of those stages can lead to injustice and really tragedy. That's the important thing that I want people to understand is we all play different roles, but it's crucial that you have someone in this position with the experience and handling the in-courtroom activity and knowledge so that doesn't occur.
To use a phrase that politicians use a lot, how humbled were you when you received these great endorsements?
Very humbled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's been a tremendous outpouring of support from individuals that I really modeled myself after, and so it's just been it's been super to have their support.
Well, looking at the list, and I think it's important to know, if you don't mind, I'll do the heavy lifting, because I know it's sometimes awkward for people to read it. But PBA of the New York State Troopers, New York State Police Investigators Association, and then what did this mean for you, the Honorable Peter Bradstreet and the Honorable Phil Roach?
Those two are two of the more important endorsements, because those are people that have actually done the job.
Right.
So they know what's expected of someone in that position, and having their endorsement and support, as well as the support of Judge Latham,
that's right.
Over in Canisteo. I've been on the phone several times with him, and all three of those have been mentors to me. When I grew up here, going to court with my father and answering the telephone in his law office, so I was able to observe them from a very young age. And when I came back to practice in front of them, especially as an attorney for the child, I was able to see very different styles that each of them had, but how they did their job and how they made people comfortable in the courtroom and how they showed them respect, but still kept it orderly and efficient. And so those endorsements mean the world to me.
And how valuable is it to have people like that you can call knowing that they did the job? Almost like you said, mentor, to have somebody there that can, you guys been through the same thing, right? It's when I see an old media person, I'm talking media,
yes.
right? It must be kind of nice to have that network.
Well, it was odd because I was an attorney that appeared before them, and then they had judges meetings every Thursday morning up in Bath that Judge Furfer, Judge Bradstreet, and Judge Latham would attend. And so for several months, I had attended those meetings because I was acting county and family court judge. So I would be in the room with them, and I would say, Judge Bradstreet, Judge Furfer, Judge Latham, and they would all go, no. When you're here, you're part of the group, and
right.
you can call us by our first names. I'm like, I'm not comfortable doing that.
No, isn't that funny? It's like running into an old teacher,
yes,
still calling Mr. and Mrs.
It's exactly.
Right?
It's like seeing your teacher in the department store and going, oh.
Something's weird here. No, that is funny. Before we go, is there a place that people can find out more in case I didn't cover something?
I'm on Facebook. I have my website. And the contact and the email is judgemccarthy2024@gmail. Okay. So you just need to reach out. I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions. And again, I really just ask people to ask someone who's involved in the legal system, whether it be an attorney, a police officer, a clerk, anybody who has knowledge of the legal system, who they're voting for. And I'm confident that I'll be successful on November 5th.
And so in closing, what do you say to voters before they vote, either early vote or go in on November 5th?
Make sure that you're educated, not just about my race, about all the things on the propositions on the back. Just educate yourselves. And just for the record, there's going to be on the ballot this year, you'll see, especially here in the city of Corning, you have an opportunity to vote for Chris Tunney. You have an opportunity to vote for me, and Chris Tunney is a surrogate court judge. He's running unopposed. You have the opportunity to vote for me for family and county court judge, and then you have opportunity to vote for Chris Ferratella as the Corning City Court judge. So I just want that to be clear, that you're not choosing between any one of us.
I know.
We're all on the same line, just to make that clear.
And I'd also recommend, and people don't do this that frequently, but it's very easy to go to the Steuben County Board of Elections and look at your ballot. So
yes,
you
prior to.
Yes, yep. Prior to, just so you have an idea. Well,
and, and by the way, they're fantastic.
Yes.
Vicki Olin, she's a godsend to Steuben County. She's just so important to this process, and this is her busy time of year, yes. So I want to give her a shout out because she's been dealing with a lot this year. Yes. So I give her props.
Well, Judge Matt McCarthy's been our guest. Thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Look, y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
I'm Nancy O'Dell. This is Crime Expose.
It's chilling, it's haunting.
We knew exactly who it was.
Blood stains on her shorts.
See you in September.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a lot of comments to read from viewers. And thank you to Judge Matt McCarthy for being on the program this morning. He is running for Steuben County Family Court Judge and Steuben County Court Judge. Okay, mouthful. Let's go to some viewer comments, and then we got to take another short break because I'm running late this morning. I knew it was going to be that kind of Friday right before Election Day. So many comments coming in. I really appreciate this. Okay. Starting off, let's go through them quickly. I have to say, with everything going on in politics, the hardest thing for me to see is people with daughters that are supporting Harris. In my opinion, they don't care about their future. They can't say abortion is a reason for voting because that would be ignorant. It is back in the states where it belongs. Thank you very much. A different viewer writing in, adding an apostrophe in order to mislead people is yet another example of their criminal thinking. Also, Cuban does not impress me. I just don't like his cocky demeanor. I would agree with that. I also think the irony of that statement, which was such an ignorant and politically dumb statement to make, especially coming off the back of Biden's garbage comment, it goes to show you he's maybe not as smart as he thinks he is. You know, he's one of these people that offers unsolicited advice to people. He's been very negative on Trump and suggests that Trump is politically dumb. Well, Mark, I got bad news for you, buddy. Not looking great for your political chops either. Next up, regarding a term limit for 2 or 4 years, and this was a question I posed if you're in the city of Corning, the mayor's, there's a proposition on the back of the ballot, along with Proposition 1, which is to make the term limit, I keep saying term limit, the term for mayor 4 years instead of the current 2. So this viewer says, regarding a term limit from 2 to 4 years doesn't bother me. What does bother me is that people like Schumer have unlimited terms. Yeah, unlimited. There are no term limits. I agree with that. I would love to see term limits. I think it would be the biggest change in politics that you could see and the quickest. There are differences of opinion, even amongst Republicans on that. And I do understand they would have to be reasonable term limits, because if you cut them too short, unfortunately, you would have really bureaucrats running our politics. What that means is, you know, let's say you did just 4 years, just for argument's sake. By the time you get in there and get settled, the new people would be coming in, and that means the people that would stick around, the kind of nameless, faceless bureaucrats, the people behind the scenes, the staffers, they would be constantly really doing the work of their bosses. That's one of the arguments. But I'm with you. I think term limits would be a great change. Next up, how can people vote for a party that can't define what a woman is? Then, when they do, they consider them weak. That's a good point. Supreme Court justice that couldn't define it. A woman that testified men can have. That got cut off. But what is the world becoming? That's the $100 trillion question. Thank you for that. Next up, last comment from viewers before we take a break. I'm 69 and grew up in a great era of America. Divorce was rare. Family was strong. The moon was conquered. It's not our grandparents' Democrat Party anymore. The main thing I liked growing up about the party was the JFK and RFK side of the Kennedy family. I had tears of jubilee when RFK walked onto Trump's stage. Now I'm back in my grandparents' era of positivity. If you want to know what it feels like back then, take another look at the party of the RFK pick. Thank you very much. All right, let's take a short break. Keep those comments coming in. We're wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, the Friday before Election Day. Hard to believe, November the 1st. And we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Have you been unable to work for over a year due to a mental or physical disability?
Were you recently denied Social Security disability benefits? Great news. You may be eligible for money, back pay, relief.
If you've been pre-qualified and diagnosed with a recognized condition that prohibits you from working, our lawyers can file a claim to get your disability benefit.
Call us today and find out more. Call now, 844-617-0440.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and the roof cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, there's a great piece at the New York Post, unfortunately, and I'll explain in a second why. It's written anonymously, and it's called, "I'm a high school athlete. Don't let Prop 1 destroy girls' sports." And it's about 3 pages, but what the letter states at the end is, sadly, I have to write this anonymously. As I have seen with others who speak up, there would be a vicious backlash for just stating my opinion. Generations of women before me have fought for rights that are slowly being taken away. I'm not yet old enough to vote, but I implore my fellow New Yorkers to stop this insanity and vote no on Proposition 1. That's from an anonymous student athlete at a school in New York City. Okay, quickly, as we talk about the national scene, wrap things up. I don't know what you would consider this. Some may say desperate times. Hillary Clinton is going to stump for Kamala Harris in Florida. They should have ironically had her in Wisconsin, right? Because isn't that where Hillary famously skipped when she campaigned. There's a piece by Kristen Fleming saying the comedian that's being roasted for the Madison Square Garden rally jokes is no racist. Joe Biden is much further out of line with that garbage remark. You can find this for yourself, but the gaffe, the garbage gaffe, of course, reminiscent of basket of deplorables. Bumbling Joe, who is an actual politician and not a comedian, is now doing cleanup duty with a major assist from the media who were outraged by Hinckliffe just days ago. Yeah, played that clip. I mean, I bet you that clip of the comedian was played 10-1 compared to the clip of Biden on that Zoom call. In the midst of a stinky mess remains a collective pearl clutching about the initial jokes. Hincliffe's set was not evidence that Trump is a racist. Having Hinckliffe on the mic, while unsavvy and imprudent, did, however, show someone in the former president's camp has impeccable taste in comedy, she writes. Anyway, enough about that. Trump brought up family members of cartel crime victims on stage in Nevada, a very impactful moment during that rally. J.D. Vance said on Joe Rogan's, Joe Rogan's podcast. Have you watched that? Yeah, I know it came out yesterday. I have not been able to watch the full 3 hours, and I say that it's impressive. A 3-hour interview is very impressive on both people's part. But he was asked about Doug Emhoff, which is the first gentleman of Kamala Harris's husband. There's domestic violence allegations. J.D. Vance believes it should be heavily investigated because it doesn't stop with one person. If you're a domestic abuser, that usually doesn't stop with one person, he said. Is it in the public interest to do some investigation about whether the president could be sharing the White House with a person who was engaged in domestic abuse, he was asked. As I'm talking, anyway, enough on that. I know this is what happens. I go quickly at the end. Douglas Murray has a piece out saying, men, get out and vote and don't let Harris lie her way into the White House. So much. Making one of the most inept, inadequate tickets ever into the Guardians of the Free World. If you want that, then sit around between now and the results. But if you don't, then get out and vote. Guys, it's in your hands. All right, we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to our guests. We had Matt Buzzetti on the program in the 6 o'clock hour. He is running for Chemung County Family Court Judge. And then just a few moments ago, we talked with Judge Matt McCarthy, who was running for Steuben County Court Judge and Steuben County Family Court Judge. He's acting in both at the time, and now he has to run for those positions. But we appreciate him being on the program as well. On Monday's show, we'll be talking with Bobby Ann Cox, a lawyer who is out fighting against Proposition 1. If you get out an early vote this weekend, enjoy. Let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear these comments of people that have voted early for the first time, and myself included. It was an interesting experience. It's a quick, fun experience. But thank you to all of our guests from throughout the week in the last couple weeks. Next week's going to be exciting, so don't miss a second of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, it starts at 6 a.m., and we will see you at 6 a.m. Monday morning. I look forward to it already. Have a great weekend, everyone.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious